well, 2 out of 3. The 2 best-looking ones are on the screen. They don't hear me yet. Yes, they heard. Okay, it's
I don't want to break my camera.
Oh, gosh, give it a break. Okay, I love this. I declare this special meeting of the Lancaster County Broadband Authority open. The only thing on our agenda today is a discussion of our budget submission. And I apologize to you three that I didn't get a chance to forward this on to you. I took the sheet that Don sent out and filled in the object lines, the item numbers and everything, how much money on each one, and I'll tell you what those are, for each of those line items, and then things that oh, can you see that? No. And then what we possibly have talked about requesting. None of this is in concrete. Okay, everybody here, both the three of us have this sheet. The first one is legal services. Last year, not what we asked for, what we were approved for was, we asked for 100,000, I believe. I got my sheet here.
Yeah, we asked for one.
Yeah, we asked for 30,000. And we received, no, that doesn't sound
No,
right.
we asked for 100,000.
Oh, we did ask for 100,000. What was approved was $67,430. Okay? Under other professional services, we asked for,
311,000.
oh, good, 311,000. You tell me that one. We were approved for 210,314.
Of which we've only spent $4 grand.
Yeah, which, well, we'll get to how much that little bit was. Advertising last year, approved.
We were budgeted 15, got approved for 10.
10,000, yeah, budgeted 15, got approved for 10,115. Mileage, we asked for,
2,500.
and we were approved for 1,686. Conference and education,
7,500.
asked for 7,500, we were approved for 5,057. Office supplies,
500.
500, we were approved for 500.
No, approved for 340.
For I put the wrong thing in, 340, correct. EDP equipment,
2,500.
2,500 asked for, 1,686 approved. And EDP software,
5,000.
5,000, 3,372 approved. Yeah, I did write down the wrong amount here. Okay? Now, the first amount was recommended for legal services for this year's budget, we had 50,000. So I know we did a little conversation on that. If we, first of all, go back, the final that approved budget last year was 300,000 out of a 444,000 requests. We got 300,000 approved. Okay, since we've now talked about 50,000 this year for legal services, is that too high, too low? Cherie, you have made some very good points on things we probably would need legal advice on.
Well, the one thing I guess I didn't know when I made those comments about the 50,000 is that we had asked for 67, what did you say, 5 last year, and then we got,
No, we were,
Something less.
we asked for 100, we were approved for 67, 430.
okay. Okay, so, and where we were at last year versus where we are this year is a very different place. But I think that 50,000 then, in light of what was approved last year, is a very conservative request, because we have 3 primary things going on that could require contract attention from outside counsel. And that's the cable franchise, contracting associated with the APB relationship, and contracting associated with the Breeze line relationship. And there might be something miscellaneous. So, you know, it's possible we could exceed that, but based upon what's going on legally and in the marketplace for cable providers, we may not be able to complete, or there might not be as much action, at least immediately, for the cable franchise, because there's a lot of open-ended issues. So 50,000, I think, is a conservative number unless this group thinks that we're not going to get the 50 and they're just going to cut it back again.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point, is ask for what you think we're gonna need, and then we'll have to go with whatever cut they decide to do, I mean, ultimately.
Okay, so based on that, what I would say is we should bump it to 67.5, what they approved last year.
So you want to go to what we got approved for, the 67,
Yeah.
430?
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah, 67, 430.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheree, the bulk of that is going to be the cable franchise agreement, which is really a county obligation anyway.
Right, that's right.
So, yeah, Jim
And we
would
probably
get-
should make that point
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
putting the budget forward.
I just put down a little, cable franchise, APB, and.
Okay.
Because we'll kind of have a little,
I don't know if I would make
dialogue
that,
with it.
I don't know if I would make that point, because in their eyes, that's the reason we were created.
Well,
Right,
no,
but I,
not that, excuse me, Jerry, not that it's county responsibility, but we are taking it over from the county. So it wasn't originally in our,
Yeah,
yeah, I think the only point Nicholas is making is whether the county does it or we do it, the cost would be there.
yeah.
So,
Now, last year with the budget submission, we did a narrative. And I don't think we need necessarily for each one of these, but I think a narrative making that point and the other points you were making, Cherie, about APB, et cetera, should go in that narrative, which only has to be 3 or 4 sentences. It's not a page. So that's one, so that when they come and say, why are they asking? There it is right in front of them. They don't have to, we don't have to spend half an hour going over each one if they've got most of the answer right in front of them when they get the submission. Does that make sense?
although I think Nicholas says he has listed cable franchise, APB relationships. So I don't know if it even needs to be 3 sentences. That seems like it's enough in a parenthetical to me, but I'll leave
Okay.
it to you guys.
All right, I'm just making.
yeah, I think you just put like a description next to it, description, just put that down,
Okay.
the reason for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and maybe this wouldn't be appropriate in writing, but like to make Dawn or somebody aware of the fact that although Cherie is not providing any legal advice, she's certainly organizing the documents and the questions for the attorneys that vastly reduces our
Cost.
need for legal services. And if we were to pay her for that, we'd be having
we'd be broke.
a really, no, seriously, the value she brings
Absolutely.
greatly reduces our legal costs.
Well, we can put that in. I have
I
no
think that's
problem
important.
making the fact that, our vice chair, with the expertise, has been able to organize this, prioritize, whatever words we want to use to make it everything all the information is there for any legal advice we have to proceed with.
She certainly minimizes the questions we
That,
have.
hopefully they'll see then that, this may be an
But
hour
seriously.
from a lawyer instead of 12 hours
Yeah,
from a
no,
lawyer.
it is, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think we do need
If
to
they,
put it.
if they complain about it, it could
Yeah.
be like, hey, this is really a low amount because of the expertise we have on the board that's able to reduce our need for
Yep,
Yeah.
I have no problem.
legal advice, understanding that
Yeah,
Sheree's
right,
not
within her
actually
permit.
providing legal
Exactly.
advice, but
Thank you, yes.
that's why I'm putting that caveat in there, right?
Yeah, no,
And I appreciate it.
But
We
anytime
appreciate
I've
you.
had a client, and think about it this way, that's why I said organizing, who really does put it all together for you, it makes it
It
a lot
reduces the
faster.
cost.
It
does.
reduces the
It
cost.
reduces the cost.
yeah, we might as well put it in there. Okay, I'll write something, I'm Michelle, you may want to write that one up.
I don't think we need to put that in writing. I think that's more of a verbal thing.
Well, they're going to ask us, remember last year we met in this room, I guess everybody did, the school board, everybody to justify
everybody
theirs.
comes
Right.
before.
So we can put those 3 points about the contracts that involve contracts, BTS, APB, and Breeze Line. And that'll be it. And then in the meeting,
Have that as a talking point.
Yeah, as a
That's what I was
talking
thinking,
point, yeah.
Because they're going to
We'll
come
do it
back at
that
you
way.
and say, oh, well, why do you need that much? I remember last year, that was a specific thing that they asked about, was legal services.
good, you can be here for that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll just mention the contracts, things that have contracts, and then that'll be the talking point. Okay, so we're putting in 67,430, what we got last year. We all agree? All right.
Yes.
On professional services, realizing that we have spent 20, unencumbered is 21. Where's the number? 24 something we have spent.
24,535.
Oh,
Yep,
thank
yep.
you, 24,535. All righty, that is Nicholas' salary plus the smart poles. Am I correct?
That shouldn't be smart goals.
It should be,
Nicholas,
the tower lease
yeah,
tower
is
lease,
put
that's
in
it.
there.
it's Nicholas' salary and the tower lease, yes.
Tower lease, not the poles, right.
We should probably break them apart.
Yeah,
Special
Why is-
service.
why is tower lease professional services? Or are you referring to when we contract out to BTS employees for providing existing
No.
unserved people?
No, this refers to the $1,650 per month that started, I forgot whether it was May or June, that we pay for the tower behind, the space on the tower behind the
Behind the building,
courthouse.
Why is that coming out of professional
That's a
services?
good soul.
But I don't, that shouldn't be in professional services.
That's just what, if we want to go ahead and say we want to stick it somewhere else, that's fine too.
Well, I think that's a complicated line item, because in reality, my understanding is that Lancaster County leases space for the tower. And they, in order to be there, pay $37.50, or no, they pay something else.
BTS
No.
pays us $37.50.
No, okay, forget about BTS for the moment. Let's just go back to the tower, speaking just
Okay.
about the tower. So the tower pays the county in order to be on the land. And then,
Oh, okay.
in order for us, or for us to put equipment on the tower, there's a fee.
Correct.
But that fee is less than the amount that SBA pays the county to be on the land.
No, it's about the same right now. So
So gosh.
we pay a little more. It was around 1,400 and some. Don's the one to really ask for the exact number. So they're shy a little bit in the economics, if you will.
Okay, so that's coming, that just came to an end at the end of 2021, is that correct, or? No,
No,
I'm trying to understand. No, the lease is
That's
infinite as
ongoing.
long as you have equipment up
Yeah,
there.
that's ongoing
okay.
until the
Well,
equipment comes
there are
out.
two leases, though, this is my point, there are two leases. One, SBA pays a lease amount for the land to the county. And
Correct.
then there's a lease amount to put equipment on the tower.
Correct.
And my understanding was that through 2021, the county wasn't paying SBA anything to have equipment on the tower. Because
That's
it was just an offset to the lease that SBA paid the county.
No, the county collects the lease money and it goes into one account.
Okay,
And what they've been doing, they've been taking from our account $1,650 per month. And as I said, I'm not sure whether it started May or June, but roughly since then until, and all the way to the end of the year. So roughly 6 months have been taken out of our account to go ahead and pay it. But now we've been reimbursed from BTS. I think it was October was the first payment, Nicholas, or November?
Remember,
November. And so now we have, I think, Kevin, I don't know if you got the couple of checks, but Don said there were a couple of checks there for you.
We've gotten a total of 3 checks from them
Okay.
3750
for $37.50 each.
okay, so here's my recommendation. That there needs to be clear bookkeeping associated with what exactly the cost is to have the equipment on the tower and how it's being paid.
we should have a separate journal and,
Yeah.
separate
line item.
top. because it is a cost of goods sold.
Yep,
It's $1,600. So we should, in the budget, show $19,200 for, fiscal year 2023 for the tower lease.
All right, how much for that?
1650 times 12.
19,200.
19,200, that's the tower lease.
And it just called, the description is, cost of goods sold tower lease, COGS tower lease.
That's,
Yeah, it's 19.8 is what I get on my calculator.
Okay. Now, we're gonna offset that with the
with the
30.
37.5 or 37.50, whatever. it is.
Right.
And that money, I think we have a separate account, a tool account for that money.
So so I just want to make certain that it then looks like, right, okay, that cost is being covered by X, so
let's get that out.
I don't know that that's a budget item.
What, the tower lease?
It should be on the Lancaster County overall budget. We have to somehow include that. I agree, it's not a request to the county for that money unless we want to put a request in, but I don't think it'll be accepted because we're collecting.
Well, I guess what's happening though is that the LCBA is being charged for the equipment, the space on the
Lease.
tower for the equipment.
Correct.
So to Nicholas's point, it is an amount that LCBA has due, but it's an amount that LCBA is covering pursuant to a separate relationship, and that separate relationship more than covers that lease. So I don't think it's relevant to this budget discussion.
Well, the only thing is, if we're submitting a budget, we should, I mean, the count numbers of the budget should reflect the count numbers of our county bills. So we should, I mean, it should, even if it's a wash or not, I think we should have. If it's coming out of professional services now, we're paying it. So Kevin or somebody, John's paying a check for that $1,600.
I agree with that. I agree with that. It should be in our books and records, but as far as asking the Board of Supervisors to approve our budget, we don't need to ask them for money
Line
in
item.
connection with this because we have it covered. But we want it reflected because the relationship that's covering it could go away at some point in the future, right?
Right.
Yep.
But all right,
Oh,
I'm
but
gonna
one
ask-
last question. The equipment on the tower, that technically though is owned
By
by the
us.
county.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, the county.
Okay, all
But,
right.
but when they
All right,
sign
good.
that over to us, does that then become LCBA property?
Yeah, that's okay. I don't really care about that so much at this point. It's more that I just want to make certain that it could be available to any internet service provider because we own it.
Correct.
And when I say we, that's like the big we, right? It's Lancaster County, which includes LCBA.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you talking about?
But does everyone agree we don't need any funding associated with it? Because we're covered for now.
All right, so what we're gonna do then is we're gonna take that $19,000 and pull it out of the professional services category and move it down to a new category.
That's what we should do, correct. Because for the remainder of this calendar budget year, we're gonna still take it from our budgets because we're so under budget, we might as well pay from that. So the 3750 will accrue and we'll roughly have 25,000 plus roughly 8. So we'll be somewhere around 30,000 in our Chesapeake account. Okay.
We don't want to switch gears, or even though we may have, we're obviously taking out professional services, don't want to switch gears. A couple of months left to go in this fiscal year. So we'll just start off with FY '23 with the new account number for cost of goods sold, and the money is $1,600.
Exactly.
All right, so first,
Yeah, I agree with you. But then that falls upon us to do it separately, Kevin, and however you want to set up. I think you were using Quicken Books, weren't you?
No, we're doing it separately right now anyway, because the 3750 doesn't go into an accounting account, it goes into our account.
Right.
Right.
So.
But what I'm saying right now, until the end of this fiscal year, that's being paid by Lancaster County from our account.
Yes, from our account, but that's tracked by the Bright software.
It's slush money. It's however they're doing it, or the
No,
combined
he's-
money,
he's
not
taking-
slush.
No, he's
He does
taking
not
it,
mean that.
he's taking it,
That was a mistake for the recording. He did not mean that.
Yeah, I mean, the combined money, and then we're budgeted for that, that's how we're doing it. But I'm referring to that as the general
But
thing,
for-
until it's actually spent, the money sits in the main account.
what I am asking,
General funds, so to speak.
Wait, Kevin
Yeah,
has a
I'm sorry.
question. Kevin has a question.
not a lot. What I'm asking is that if whatever you're gonna request for 3199, you need to take $19,800 away from that so that it can go into the other account when we submit this request.
Yes.
Okay, so that automatically, that's
So are we
almost
It's not part of the
20,000.
budget request.
So that brings this down to basically 80,000 for professional services. I mean, another $200, whatever. But,
And also, the 210 that we originally asked for was to cover our fees that we were gonna pay to the Vatti and the da-da-da-da-da-da for all these other services we're getting done. Is that money still gonna be available to us, or do we need to re-request it? Or am I remembering this wrong?
I'm trying,
Oh, that's a good question. You're talking about like the 1,200 or the 230 that
200.
Lancaster County has agreed to under its memorandum of understanding or whatever. The other one is
Exactly.
called an
They're
ABB.
now, that's from there, that's not out of our budget.
I'm pretty much sure they think, because it's Lancaster County Broadband Authority that went into the Vatti application, all the applications.
I think we
we've
should
done.
just have separate line items for those two. And then we just keep
Well,
going forward until we pay them.
It should be in this budget, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
And this
so-
way, if they want to fund it or not, how they decide to fund it, either by
I
by
think-
approving it in this funding in the budget hearing, or they have it in their general fund account.
Well, according to the letter that Don
Yeah,
sent,
that's,
the letter that came from the county administrators guaranteed that the county would put in X dollars. In this case, it's 231,000.
so then we shouldn't have to put that in our
That should
budget
not
for
be
next
coming
year.
out of our budget. And that's next year.
Oh,
No, it won't be
great.
next year. That's a one-time deal. So you don't have it every year,
Well,
231,000.
no, that's not the question. The question is, what year are you gonna actually spend the money? Because that's what they wanna know. They don't care.
Then that'll be,
Like, is it gonna be spent before this year's over with, or are we gonna have to push it down the road one more
thing is,
year?
I don't know, Nicholas, have you gotten, I don't think there have been many, if any, what's the word I
No.
want?
We have not received any invoices
Invoices.
from Breeze Line for the Valley grant, although we will be soon. You know, they'll come in stages as they progress, so it's not going to
Pay
go
for this year.
And then the All Points broadband would probably be one payment of for the total amount that we.
Yeah, 575 for that one.
Yeah, now then, when we get invoices, I'm trying to remember the emails I saw. When the invoices come, we have to pay, because DHCD's money, the 1 million blah, blah, does not come to us until we've exhausted what we, Lancaster, were putting into the Vatti.
The match,
Like,
right.
The match. So once we finish the 231,000, then we start paying from the 1,072,000 that we get from Vatti for the remaining invoices.
For the Breeze Line contract, and
Yes.
very similar for the APB Vatti project. So
All right.
both of them are Vatti projects and have the same rules.
That's really weird.
So the thing is, we don't know how much of the 231,000 will be spent this fiscal year, because we still have, what, 4 months to go, 5 months, and we haven't gotten one invoice. And I agree with Nicholas, they're gonna start coming in, but then we don't know. So it's gonna be hard to give a hard line number on
I
that.
think it's a Don question. We should ask Don straight up, do you have this money in reserve somewhere sitting and waiting to spend? Do we need to budget it every year until we start spending for it, or start paying for it? Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear
That's a
what you're
good
saying.
question.
So,
So that is a Don question, but we can put something in.
If we're looking to put it in, I think we put the total amount in.
Yeah, because it goes back to the
'Cause you
general
don't
fund.
wanna
If
have
we
to-
don't use it, it goes back to the general fund.
Yeah.
Well, and it's amount committed, and, well, let's assume ABB, Breeze Line gets everything done on time and invoices quickly, like right on time. How far could they get? Could they get to the point where they've invoiced us that amount?
You mean this fiscal?
No,
No,
I mean,
I
they
agree.
can in the next fiscal year, but this year, I don't think you will.
So it's not gonna be that much.
I don't think it
No,
will be.
but like what Don said, is they're gonna pay that out. They got that money earmarked for both those grants, matching funds in the general fund now. Even if we identify them in our budget going to the Board of Supervisors, if they say, no, we have it, you don't need it in your fund, in your budget, because we have it in ours, then it just comes out. They don't fund it.
That's fair. And that way you
But
identify
I think
them.
it's a good way to present it, is that we have those, we know those two expenses are coming up next year. We identify those two numbers, and if they decide not to fund it, at least it's kind of almost, kind of like officially memorializing that it's going to come out of the general fund.
That makes sense.
We can put that in the narrative, the 231 and the 575, and,
And I
all
think we should put it in the, right in the budget, and they can take it out if they want.
right, the $800,000. Yep,
Is it 800?
231 and 575. That's about $800,000. I'm not,
We have the RDOF match,
806.
which is 575,
and then 231 for Vatti.
the Vatti match is 231.
Kevin's over here doing the math.
No, math's done. It's
How much is it?
$806,000.
$806,000. I was close.
Yeah, you're only 6,000.
Petty cash.
For who?
All right, but now we need, what kind of a line item do you put that? I don't know all the line items.
Just put, you can get, there's grant,
fill it in?
there's grant, grant, like Vatti grant.
If we put here,
Yes.
This would be,
In my description, I put down RDOF match and Vatti match.
Yeah.
it's not an RDOF, it's, both of them are Vatti matches. One is 2021 and one is 2022. And that's how that 575, even though we talked RDOF initially with APB, because they put that in Vatti 2022 as the match, that's where our money's going.
Okay. Vatti, we just put Vatti APD on it.
I'm sorry, what was that,
Yeah.
Nicholas?
Yeah, that would work.
What? I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Vatti match.
Vatti match.
Vatti APD match, and then Vatti Breeze Line match.
Oh, I see what
Exactly.
you're saying, put Breeze Line in one and APB in the other one.
Yeah, 2021 Breeze Line Vatti match, and then 2022 APB Vatti match.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we put those amounts. And then they can tell us, don't worry about it, we've got it over
Yeah.
here, or, yeah, we'll put it in yours, we accept that,
You ain't give
whatever.
us enough.
Well, we'll figure it out, because you're going to do this.
Yes, I know. I understand
Okay,
how
so
this
that
works.
takes care of the 8, and we'll split it out to 231 and 575. Okay.
We
Now,
kind of
go-
went a long way around bypassing professional services, what the ask is for 2023.
Well, we've already
Right.
taken, yeah, because we have to also have a line item for the 80,000, give or take a few there, that we just asked to be pulled out.
The 80,
I'm not the 80,000, the 19,800
yes.
that we're pulling
The
out.
actual professional services.
That's,
To date, my fees it's about $20,000.
are you
So-
a professional service, or are we saying,
He's professional service.
all right,
Well,
so,
we've got to keep paying Nicholas, so we need to put that back in.
So,
Well, you got increased activity from the Vatti, and granted, it's not the RDOF, from the Vatti grant.
you said 14,000, Nicholas? That's how much you said approximately 14,000 is what you've been paid?
About 20,000. It's like
20,000.
19,000.
All right, let's just say 20,000, that's
19,805.
20,000, you're worth the tip. $20,000. I do better with round numbers, so we can play with the specifics. All right, 20,000 for Nicholas, and that was from, that was July.
That was only half a year.
That's half a year. So basically 40,000 for a whole year?
Well, I mean, he gonna get really busy when.
Very little activity.
Yeah, when he starts
Yes.
coming.
Does depend on activity.
Yeah, I mean, because that's
Yeah,
gonna.
we have the grants now coming into, we're gonna start construction this calendar year, so
I mean,
Need
he's,
more travel for
the
you,
activity
Nicholas.
probably increase.
Yep, go
May
ahead.
I speak?
Yes, you may.
So two things on that. I think Nicholas's time commitment is going to increase with the
Right.
build-outs. And in the next meeting, I have a lot to say about how I think we could be more involved with the 2022 Vatti match, which would require Nicholas to do the similar services that you would be doing for us with respect to the 2021 Vatti grant. I've got an idea in there that I'd like to propose. So kind of think, if you could think about how that might increase, if we were successful in doing that, if we wanted to do that, how that might increase your time commitment. And then the other thing is that I don't think, or we should consider not putting Nicholas under professional services, because from what we did last year, we actually did a search and hired Nicholas as an employee, although we may pay him as a contract employee. Is he really, I mean, how did that all flesh out? Because I thought that it was important.
He has a consulting agreement.
Right, he has a consulting agreement, okay. For some reason, I thought it was important that he was categorized as an employee, and I can't remember why.
Because we talked about with this change later
Okay,
into employee, it'd be something we'd consider the next fiscal
Okay.
year. And we just left it
Right
as
now, he's
consulting.
just consulting, paid
Okay.
for every hour that he,
Yeah,
okay,
remember, we had a whole different scope when we initially set up the whole thing. Nicholas is gonna actually go out and run fiber everywhere.
well,
But-
here's what I propose for purposes of this special meeting and the budget. That I think that we have to look at what Nicholas, is billing for the first half of this year. Recognize that, for the second half of this budget year, it's probably gonna be busier because so much has changed. And that will continue through the budget that we're addressing, and which runs what, June to,
1
it
July.
July 1
July 1 to 30
to,
June.
to.
okay. So Nicholas, you said you thought for the first 6 months, it was about 19.3 or something, let's say 20
To date, it's about.
to date.
About
Is that,
20,000.
but if we say to date, how many months is that?
July,
What's that? July, August, September, October, November, December,
so about
January.
7 months.
7 months.
7
7
months,
months.
including January.
We've got 7 invoices.
So you got 5 more months for this
So-
fiscal year.
But that's already
And
budgeted.
have you seen a,
I understand that.
is the time spent going like this, is it on a line that's increasing, or is it just like sort of very gradual,
Kind of flat level, flat line,
flat line? Okay,
But-
so,
Because we're kind of like, I don't want to say in a holding pattern, you're just kind of waiting for things to happen.
right. So, okay, so we say for the remainder of the year, it's reasonable to assume about 40. So next year's budget for Nicholas, we should, one depends on how much time he has, and the other depends on how much time we think we're gonna need him. And Michelle talked about, him doing what he's been doing with Vatti, or Breeze Line, but also for Vatti APB, right, Michelle? That was kind of the thought?
yeah, that's my thought.
So would it be unreasonable, do you think, and Nicholas, you're probably the only person who can answer this, to increase or request a budget of 80 for you for next year, next calendar year, or
Yeah, I mean, that's what, I put it at 100 since the budget was.
put it at 100?
I mean, that's what I put in when I sent out to everybody.
Okay, well then let's just stick with the 100. If that's what Nicholas put in, I think that's supportable.
Hey,
Yeah.
Nick, I have a question for you. It's not 100% budget. Do you prefer to remain as contractor?
Yes.
Okay. We're just all making these decisions, and I'm like, has anybody actually asked him?
Good question.
Very-
Actually, we've talked about it.
I'm okay about talking up, so.
All right, then, what do we want to call this? Here we have other professional services. You take out the word other, first of all.
Well, realize Bright has categories, and you're kind of stuck within a certain realm.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
it's
It's
called
not-
other because you've got legal services
yeah,
and
Oh, okay.
then other professional
So
services.
that's what fits into this system.
Yes.
All right, so other professional services, we keep it at 100, and that's strictly Nick. Well, you can play with money anyway, move it around, but.
Or just professional services.
It could just be, well,
You might find it better, Nick.
Put it under personal services? I'm sorry, I missed that.
no, to, Nicholas, to Michelle's point, the reason it's other professional services is because you have legal services. It's just this idea that they're,
Yeah, no.
other professional type services, and those happen to be you. So-
It really boils down to when Bright was built, technology services really wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
Right,
So,
right.
so that's fine.
Okay.
But legal services is considered professional
Right,
services.
legals have
So
been
just
around
other
forever.
is like accounting, it's
Yeah.
whatever,
Makes sense.
consulting,
actually, no, there's
anything
an
else.
accounting service.
Oh, okay, that doesn't
Plumbing
surprise me.
services. It's
Well,
different.
it's just, yeah, it's
It's
literally
services that are often used,
that
Yeah.
were often used.
were often used,
Yeah.
got it, okay.
All right. All right, so we've got 67,430 for legal, and we've got 100,000 for other professional services.
Correct.
We okay with those two?
Yes.
All right. Advertising, we've got down here 5,000. Last year, we put in for,
Last year we, oh God. my
oh, I forgot
eyes
you
are-
turned that off. Let me see, last year, advertising,
We requested,
5,000.
no, 2,500.
2,500? I have on here 5,000 is what they said. All right,
I gotta make, no, I
2,500.
gotta make, mileage was rather high. Advertising, which is the fourth down, third down.
Third.
We requested 15,000.
Oh, we requested
Count
15,000?
3,600.
Well, I put this-
5,000 sounds reasonable. If they
Yeah.
gave that to us last year, it
They
sounds
gave us
like it's
10,000
reasonable for
last
this
year. They gave
Oh.
us 10,000, we requested 15. So consequently,
Oh.
this is, I agree with you, 5,000 to me is reasonable.
Yeah, especially when we spent nothing out of that line
Yeah,
item
and
so
Breeze
far.
Line and the others are going to be putting out things. So let's leave it at 5,000, we don't
The only
need,
account we spent out of was professional services. So
What did he say?
we spent,
that's the only account that, to date, that.
oh yeah,
money
professionals,
was-
you're right, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one we've spent from.
But advertised, yeah, I didn't realize that the Rappahannock record or whatever it is free. But if we have to do any legal, legal notices, that can kind of get expensive. Do we see any of that coming up?
If we had
No,
to,
because all the internet service providers will have to put those out on their dime.
I'm just thinking for internally for us.
Well, the only thing I can see, because like you said, rap record, the radio and all that stuff is free. If we wanted to put out any sort of quote-unquote paper, the triangular things you put on tables, whatever, if we wanted to do anything outside of the usual things, the newspaper and the radio.
I think there's a couple of things that I can think of where we might want to do something. We know that with APB, they have something called Academy, and and I don't know who will have access. I'm assuming you get a customer ID, and then you have access. And what that does, it covers topics from internet safety to cutting the cord. I haven't seen all the topics, so I asked to get a copy of that. What we don't have is for customers that are Breeze Line, something of that nature, to my knowledge. Excuse me. So I don't know if we need to get links to YouTube sites, et cetera, to help educate the people who are not going to have access to quote unquote the academy.
That's gonna be covered, I think all that's gonna be covered by the actual providers themselves.
Correct. The one thing, though, that I think that we might need to spend money on that still hasn't happened is the advertising of these smart poles. We don't have the
Correct.
signs up by the smart poles, how to use them. I mean, a lot of this can go on the website, but there were some things that were supposed to be right at the poles so that
Like the
users
signs, yeah.
know how to use them. And we need to make that happen for the people of Lancaster.
Yep. That's
Yep,
def-
I agree with it. It's,
Yeah.
I'll remind Don again, because he did put in an order with a sign company and they have just not responded. I said it's time
Well,
to get a
I
new
don't
sign
know if Don
company.
should be on it. I
Okay.
mean,
We can do the same thing.
complicated.
Yeah,
But my question is, how much money? How much money do we need to get it done?
I think $5,000 would be.
Okay,
I agree,
Yeah.
5,000
Order
is
one on
enough.
the internet.
so make it 10. Make the advertising budget at 10. That's what we got last year, let's get it again.
okay. And then we also got to get the balusters up. The balusters are in, and there's only a few needed for certain smart poles. Yeah, balusters are those big
Yep.
things that prevent cars from hitting the pole, basically.
Oh.
And I think we only need them at like 3 sites. I gotta go back and check each one. But a lot of the poles are up on curbs already. But there's still a few that we could use some balusters in front of them.
That could
We
come
don't
out
have
of,
advertising.
I think that's another good reason to put the 10,000 in.
But the balusters are there. It's just that we now need someone to install them.
Hey,
Yeah.
Gary,
I mean, that doesn't come out of the advertising budget.
well, it could. They're yellow and they got little signs on them and installation of the
Yeah,
sign is part of,
That's why you're gonna put the sign onto, yeah.
hey, Gary, spell balusters for me. I've read it
That's
so
why
many times.
IRS wanted.
Just put,
I think it's, you're gonna do as well as I do with it, Cassie.
Okay.
Ballster, something like that, I don't.
just put.
Please correct me. It's wrong.
We'll find it. Okay,
Moving along.
10,000 then for advertising. Mileage, we got approved for $1,686 last year. And
Gas at $10 a mile, I mean,
$10 a mile.
no, I have no idea, I think some of that covers, trips to DHCD since we have 2 Vatti projects for people going in and out of the city. That's where I would think. I would think once construction starts,
Driving around.
getting some mileage on driving out and observing would be good.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
Nicholas, what about if you come down? Is your mileage included in this or is that separate?
That should be in the professional services.
Yeah, that's
That comes under the 100,000.
It'll be broken out. So it's mostly be for, board members.
expenses reimbursement, yeah.
It's up to almost 60 cents a mile now, but it's for 2022, so it's.
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
significant.
Price of gas. Oof.
Well, we asked for
Okay.
2,500, they only gave us 16,
Oh, we asked for 2,500, they gave us 16.
so.
I think we
I
asked for the
just-
20, well, I mean, if it gets to the point where, let's say Gary's, you drive around and look at the lines that are being laid and something, is that something that you'd like your mileage, to expense your mileage for? I think that's the question.
Yeah, I haven't, but time is more important than the gas.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know, because like if I did it, I wouldn't, need to, you know what I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
And Bill, those are how
Yeah.
you characterize it. I don't think I'd submit mileage for stuff. I don't care if someone
think-
does, but all I'm saying is that,
I think
I
mileage,
could see you doing something like that, which is a big benefit if you did. Would you need, to
Well,
increase
definitely
the
trip-
mileage budget because of it?
Trips to Richmond for DHCD and any other travel like that, obviously.
y'all better
you
come
do
get
mileage?
y'all better come get a county car.
Get a county car, yeah.
Well, the county policy is if there's a county car available.
You gotta use a
and you
county
drive
Are there
it
county
over,
cars?
All right,
you
that's
don't
fine.
get
All righty.
reimbursed.
Okay,
Well, Gary, you can get a county car when you go driving around.
man.
Yeah,
Hope it doesn't break down.
I want Don's truck, but anyway, go ahead.
All right, so you want to leave it at 5,000?
Well, they only gave us 1,600.
Well, they're not going to give us 5,000, that's for sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
All right, do you want to leave it at 5 or just go ahead and just lower it now?
Well,
You know, we're asking
Increase
for, sorry, Sherry.
no, go ahead, Nicholas.
We can't base it on what they gave us last year, because if we based on everything from last year, they'd give us nothing, because we only spent $25,000.
Right.
So we're looking at this saying, okay, we have a lot, we have, where we are today is different from where we were last year. And we're gonna have increased activity of people going out and checking, you know, that APB and Breeze Line are doing what they said they're gonna be doing and following up on stuff. So there should be, because we have increased activity, we're gonna have increased, you know, expenses.
Okay,
So
let's
if we
leave
think
it
it's
at that.
5,000, I mean, at least I think we should put 5,000 in. If they want to cut it down, they can
Let
cut
them
it down.
lower it, at least. we
I
can-
agree.
Yeah, okay, that stays. Conference and education, we've got 5,000 down. They gave us 5,057 last year, and we asked for, oh, gotta open it up again,
Oh, it's open.
7,500?
Yep, 7,500.
7,500.
They gave us 55.
All right, they gave us 55 out of 75. What do we see doing, especially conference-wise? I'm not as worried about education-wise, but conference, that's where the bigger bucks are. Would be
I
needed.
think the FBA conference is probably one of the biggest one to go to. There's other conferences, I'm trying to remember the name of who it is, but there's several different ones. But that's the one I would target.
Fiber Connect,
I would
right?
keep
So at
it
a
at,
minimum, 7,500 again,
And see if they give us
with,
5,000.
with the narrative that, you know, it was really, everything was under the water because of COVID. And this year it's going to open up.
We just have, Mr. Gill has just arrived, and we had questions. Okay, we'll do that.
I have questions for you.
Oh. We'll stick with 75 for that one, we'll change that one.
So can I ask them the easy ones first?
Yes. Are you ready to ask? Kevin has a question for you.
Sure.
Anybody else have a question for Don? He's here.
So the match money we have to have for these grants, do we have to keep asking for that every year? Or is it,
The match money would be part of our capital improvement budget, so you don't need to include that in your general operating budget.
Okay,
that's all we need to know?
strike $806,000.
Right.
That's perfect.
That's the only real question we have for you, sir.
Anybody else have questions for
Oh,
Don?
anybody else have a question for Don?
Sounds like Gary might have one. See on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see him. He's trying not to have his camera break, so he's not being seen.
Oh, okay.
But he's there.
I'm here.
Do you have a
I'm,
question for Don?
saving my bandwidth.
Oh, okay, I got you. All I see is a black box where you, I see Nick and
Yeah.
Sheree, but I don't see, all I see is a black box for Gary.
Yeah.
Do you have a question for him?
That's why I need broadband out here, so I can then use my video.
That's right.
So Don, did you get any kind of an estimate on the advertisement? You were going to contact a sign company in connection with the smart pools. Was there a dollar amount associated with that?
No, but I think a good estimate would probably be $100 per pole.
$100 per poll.
Yeah.
About 800.
So then the amount, that would, for the advertising dollars that we're looking for, we would be able to cover it based upon what we came up with earlier,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Also, Don, do you have a crew or an idea of who would install the balusters and the signs?
You know, we have a skeleton maintenance crew. They could do it, but I don't know how quickly. Kevin's got his hand up. I don't know if he's got anything to add.
You got post hole diggers?
Oh, you're talking about me and you doing it.
We can't afford you to.
I mean, I think we can do it in-house.
Okay.
Okay.
The reason is if we have an outside, then we should get a budget number of what to pay for it. That's really the thought we have for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like those yellow,
Balusters, okay.
yeah, I can't, yeah, the ones we have, because they're bolted on at the bottom, and you gotta put a base in to bolt them on. I think I would almost prefer just a 4-inch piece of PVC pipe and put concrete in it, and that'd be a whole lot easier. And then you could paint
Okay.
it.
All right.
And you could drill and attach the sign
You
to
could
it.
drill that and attach a sign to it easy,
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's gonna get yanked down.
I forgot with those balusters, does that black piece pop off? Or on top?
On top,
In
I
other
think,
words,
yeah, I think it does,
Yeah. Okay, oh, but it doesn't go deep, that's the problem, okay.
yeah.
Don,
It's like a 4-inch cap, I think, if it's on.
spell baluster.
Yeah.
No, don't even worry about it.
Ballaster, I think.
Wow,
That has nothing to do with budget.
I know. But he's the county administrator. I figured he could spell. Good. I did spell it right. Okay.
I think they're called bollards.
Bollards.
Bollards is what they're actually called.
BOLLARD.
Yeah, BOLLARDS, yeah.
Okay. So,
Balusters are like things on a stair.
Oh, yeah, the
rail.
stairs, yeah.
all right.
Those are actually
Bollards.
banisters.
Bollards.
but-
Whatever.
I was like, I've never heard of that.
Whatever,
You just go by the railing.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
Change that.
we're just, yeah.
All righty. All right. So we're set now, conference and education. Office supplies.
I have something to say about office supplies. We closed down our office in Richmond a number of years ago and still have, my office is here. And I never got rid of the mountains of office supplies that my paralegal liked to order for no reason whatsoever, and I was about to get rid of them. Do you want them, Don, or does somebody want them? It's like, I have
We'll
like,
take paper clips.
Yeah.
I have
why
an
not?
amazing amount of paper clips and like a million staples and tape, I mean, just like this random stuff.
Yeah, sure,
Okay,
why
I
not?
was just about to donate it, so I'll bring it to you. That'll be my contribution to the office supplies.
Well then, what do we need for
Well, I
office?
mean, I'm not saying there's stuff you need. I'm
Yeah,
just saying I
but-
want to get
but
rid of
that takes care
office
of that
supplies.
category. All right.
So
well,
$500 to be sounds fine.
Okay. Any other
You
comments
can
on
tell them we're
office?
keeping the budget low because Michelle donated a bunch of random office
She
supplies.
made a difference. Okay, so we'll keep.
All
the
supplies would go to 500, or?
Sorry? What was
He's
that,
saying,
Nicholas?
should we even go to 500?
Office supplies, I think we're at 1,000
No,
proposed.
500.
500, okay.
Unless you think we need more paper
Well, they
clips than
only,
Michelle
they
has.
only gave us
Oh,
340
you're
last
usually
year.
surprised.
We requested 500. They gave
Yeah,
us
we got
340.
340. Well, do you want to lower office supplies?
I said we just asked them for 300. I mean, realistically,
How do you feel about 300 for office supplies? As opposed to the 5?
because Nick's paying for
No,
all his
yeah,
own
because
paper
Nick,
clips.
Nicholas, you really don't, that's
No.
part of, yeah. So what do we need office supplies for?
Yeah, I'm kind of,
Yeah, I mean, we have everything here, I think,
Yeah.
that you would
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, you can go and get pads and everything.
I mean, it's not like we have a separate office that we maintain that has
We
office
tried for
supplies in it.
that, but that didn't go over well.
he lets us
Okay.
use a little office anytime we need to.
You know, I do a small amount if we need envelopes or something, yeah.
$100.
Whatever.
Would that include stamps? No, we have, we get stamps through you.
Do you have a postage
Usually
line
post
item?
We have
is
some-
another line item.
No, we
separate
don't have
line item,
shipping
but-
of any
No, we
kind.
haven't got any shipping now. That was just that, those, for the surveys. We haven't done anything since then. All right, so want to put just $100? That should cover whatever we need. Okay. EDP equipment.
I'm saying we stay with the 1,700 we requested. And under the software, I'm saying we stay with 35 and that we help with the licensing of the ARC stuff simply because what the features we want to use aren't available in what the county typically uses now. And that's $2,770 a year. So I say 3,500, that covers us if we need any kind of office or whatever, which I don't see happening, but.
Comments?
I'm
Sounds
good with
good.
that.
All right, EDP equipment, 1,700, EDP software, 3,500. I hear you.
Kevin, is there anything we need to do because of Windows 11, or is it just simply upgrading?
It's free right now.
Yeah, I know it's free, I'm just, with the equipment, that it should be able to handle it,
Yeah,
no
everything we
problem, right?
got's like, yeah, we should be really good, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even think, like, the 2 PCs we currently have barely get used. I know one sits in the filing cabinet.
I didn't even know we
Yeah.
had one.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
we have.
I don't need one.
I'll say thank you
Yeah,
for the
that's
monthly
been
one.
I mean,
everybody's.
I'll use
I've
my
got
own.
one.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
Okay.
So-
I won't use it.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything, don't even go there, Kevin.
See,
All right, well, that's all the line items.
Well, if it's just sitting there in the closet, can we give it back to the county and
We
let
bought
somebody
it,
use it?
it's
ours.
ours.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah. It
Yeah,
seems
Yeah.
like a
well,
waste of-
remember, we were thinking we'd have 1 or 2 people full-time at this point, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if we go to, you know, any sort of an admin assistant in the future, we've got, as one of the reasons we wanted one, if we had to start doing a lot of things in-house, we'd have that person have a computer for that.
All right,
It'd
so,
probably be outdated
all
by
right,
the
so
time.
before we put this to bed, Mr. Don had questions for us. We might want to hear those before we say.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good budget, because he might be asking for money or.
No, my first question was, normally BTS brings the monthly check to me, but they didn't do it this time. Did they take it directly to you all?
You gave it to me.
No, that was for the previous month. I'm talking about,
Oh,
they usually come the first part of
I
the
haven't
month.
seen anybody.
Okay, I'll,
At the Tuesdays with Don, Jeff wanted to get a hold of you, Don.
Okay.
So that may be where that issue is.
okay, I didn't just, not show up. I had a board member that monopolized my time during that, time I was supposed to be with you all, so.
with the new board?
Well, that's
So I couldn't make the time with Don, even though it was there. So,
Okay. No, we were there,
Yeah.
and you saw the highlights, so.
Yeah.
it's,
okay, I'll check with Jeff. I'll call him tomorrow. We had
Okay.
a Community Business Relations Advisory Committee meeting this morning, and 3 questions were asked. And the first question was, people see Dominion burying cable in the Akron area. And they've been, the questions are they laying fiber now, or are they just burying electric lines? And that's ABB or Breeze Line territory. Is ABB burying their lines, or Breeze Line? Are they burying the lines? People think that all the lines are eventually gonna be underground, but that's not the case, is it? I mean, Breeze Line's lines are gonna stay on poles, correct?
There,
Well, some of Breeze Line's fiber is under the ground. I can tell you, that's the case in my neighborhood.
they go,
Mine also.
they go to ground if there is a long stretch of non-serviced area. They'll go under every time, and then they'll come back to pole when you start getting into deliverable areas. like
Okay.
Where houses are actually at.
But Dominion on Akron Road wouldn't be burying any of that middle mile fiber there, right?
They could be,
Well, all
because
I,
the fiber they're placing, Don, is not just for APB, but it's really to support their smart grid electrical network. The excess they place is available to broadband providers. So I can't say definitively that's what they're doing, but they're probably burying fiber to support, for their own internally.
I mean, that solar farm's on Akron, right?
Yeah,
All right, so that's.
Yeah,
not-
they'll be there.
So what
Yeah.
so Dominion definitely came down Akron Road, we know that, to the solar farm, right?
Right.
So after that, because that's where I live down there, I've been watching it. And sometime while I was gone, like over Christmas, or right after, it was before I left, so sometime before Christmas, that line, well, no, there's some overground, it gets buried to the solar farm. But then is it already buried? There are some lines that come back up,
But I
right,
think
right
those-
before you get to the solar
I
farm.
think those are electrical.
No, there's low,
I know for a
there's
fact
super low.
that the cable company is already servicing down past
Okay.
the solar farm.
So recently, recently past the solar farm.
Right.
There's above ground, right? and then it goes down under, right before you take a right onto Scott Road that becomes Little Bay. It goes down under somewhere, and then it picks back up soon thereafter, and it goes down to Dameron Road. It's right before my road on the right, where the ABB Breeze Line local manager lives. Because my neighbor now has service from Breeze Line.
Because they read it.
And
to
you can
the
see it above on the poles, and then right when you get to her road, you see it go underground and come back up on the first pole on her road. I think it's called Dameron. I can look on the map of what it's called. And then it stays above ground. It's on the poles going down to service those homes.
I'll go right down there later.
So she just got
So-
service, and it's not such a great service. Like, so she said it's not like,
They
she
probably
lives in
just-
DC, so I think it's coax. I don't think it's
Well, yeah,
fiber.
most definitely
It will be
probably
co-op.
is.
Yeah.
So Dawn, were the individuals, why were they asking the question? Is it just out of curiosity or?
That one was
Was
just
there a
out of
concern?
curiosity, yeah, because they,
Because,
I mean, they know of the project with Dominion and APB, and Dominion's putting in the middle mile and APB is putting in the last mile. But they were wondering, what's going on down Auckland Road with Dominion burying cable, and were they burying electric lines or were they burying fiber? And I didn't know the answer, so I thought I would ask you all
But I-
today.
yeah, one thing to keep in mind, Dominion putting in conduit isn't going to just pull electric lines through it. They are gonna leave enough space so that they can do fiber as well, because remember, the Infrastructure Act is giving billions of dollars dedicated to just middle mile deployment. That money hasn't rolled out yet, but it will be rolling out this year. And Dominion is also getting money from the state pursuant to the pilot projects. So it knows how to get access to these funds, and I'm sure it's mapping out the entire area, despite what we already know it's been granted for with, in the Lancaster, King William area.
So what is the middle mile? Like what
From their-
what
from
lines?
their-
Like for our area, for Lancaster County, what is the middle mile? Like
From-
what degree of,
From their facility of what they need to you. So if there's a power substation over here, and they need to get to that, that's a need, that's not a middle mile. But from that power substation to your house, that's a middle mile.
I thought that's the last mile.
Well,
Like going
That's
directly
the
to my
last-
house.
They consider that stringing middle for them. That's what
So wh-
APB's picking up, as far as their,
Nicholas,
APB is doing the last,
yes.
they're doing
Yeah.
the last mile.
Yes.
But that's what I mean. So what is what is Dominion doing? What is the middle mile? What lines? If you
Here,
look at,
give
like,
Nicholas the floor. Nicholas?
thank you.
It depends who the party is. So there is no middle mile for Dominion. Dominion is placing fiber to go from wherever their control center is to connecting all their substations, all their downstream devices, their reclosures, capacitor banks, and things like that. So they're building their own fiber network. They put in excess of fiber in. The middle mile part comes in when a broadband company wants to buy fiber from them, and they're gonna buy fiber to go from their point of presence where their equipment may be, where their HUD is, down some street to, and then from there, they're gonna go in and use that fiber, and they're gonna use that fiber to attach their last mile fiber, which will be from the Dominion fiber to the customer's home. So so what they're really, or extend off of the Dominion fiber, they're gonna extend their fiber into an area where there is no fiber and extend from the Dominion fiber, or use the Dominion fiber, and then extend their own fiber to an area, and then from there go into the customer home.
So is there any way to
So-
look at Dominion's current, like, all their utility poles and say, oh, that's the kind of pole a middle mile
No,
fiber would be on, and that's the kind of pole, last
There's
mile?
no physical difference.
middle mile is
It's just the
on any
terminology.
distribution pole or in any conduit The last mile is from the distribution pole to the customer's home.
Okay.
But
To
it
the
can
end
be the
user.
exact same type of
It
equipment.
can be the same.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
where it's
Yeah,
physically
yeah.
placed.
But, okay, but middle mile, Dominion has access to different money from what Cherie just said.
Yes, there is different money for the middle mile,
Okay.
but everybody needs the middle mile.
No,
So-
I know that. I
Yeah.
just, I couldn't quite.
You gotta have the middle mile in place to get the last
Last
mile.
mile.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, what about the first mile?
Nobody
but that
Well,
was
that's
just,
somebody else.
Stop.
Okay.
yes, sir.
Stop and move on.
What's
There's a
that?
whiteboard for that.
Well, that was just a question brought up. Now, these next two questions are actually, I guess, requests. They said, would it be possible to have maybe a GIS layer on our county maps that someone could click on their property or property they were interested in purchasing and be able to see the internet services available to them, like, Breeze Line goes down this road, APB goes down this road, BTS has wireless coverage here. Is that something that can be done in the future?
I'll try and handle that, Don. The answer is yes. However, we have roadblocks in that we can't get all the data.
Well, and that's what I told them, that, these companies hold a lot of that information close to the vest and don't want to divulge it, so.
And so that's really the critical thing. I think once everybody has their stuff in place, that's easier, because then as a county, you can say, give us your as-bills in a GIS layer, if you will.
Okay.
And the
then
federal government will have its,
Yeah.
that's what they're working
Right.
on. The federal
Right.
government is working on just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Virginia's also working on their own map.
Right.
Right,
FCC.
exactly. So, but I think until it's completed, these guys are worried about someone else running into their area. We have some of that data. For example, what we have from APB Dominion is 2,231. Well, they've come back, and we have that as shape files, and it can be a GIS layer. However, they told us they're doing 2637. The delta on that is non-funded areas, okay, service areas. And they're not giving me that data, which is what I'm trying to get, so I can confirm that everyone in the county is covered. With Breeze Line, they don't use GIS, and they were hammered for that. That's where a lot of the, Cassie, I think you're aware of some of the conflicts that were going on initially before we awarded the 2021 Vatti grant. So we're hoping that we'll have better GIS data from Breeze Line. But I think we can piece it together. It's just, we just don't have all the data.
On the good
The
news,
answer's no.
no, right now. On the good front, I had a call today with Breeze Line Planning, and they are, they're covering 119 more homes than they originally identified in the Vatti grant. So that's ones that weren't identified, and there's 119 more homes that are going to be passed and eligible for service with the new, with new facilities.
Great.
They're trying to hit as much as they possibly can, more than than the original plans. And they're doing it on their dime, which is kind of nice.
Next question.
Well, the last question was, and I've seen maps that Gary's had previously, but they wanted to know if there was a map that showed where coverage is currently, and then another map that would show where coverage will be by the end of 2023 and the Dominion APB project.
If people are willing to accept that there's probably about 10% error, we could probably put something together.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
technically, couldn't we just use the maps we submitted to Vatti? Wasn't there maps submitted for that?
There were maps submitted to Vatti that
So,
APB submitted,
yeah,
yeah.
that way APB can't say we're
It'd be
not
easier
giving
just
out
to use their
info
maps, yeah.
or anything like that.
Right.
I think
It's all
that'd be
public record.
safer.
Exactly. Yeah, we could use APB and ABB's, excuse me, APB and Breeze Lines maps as the quote-unquote unserved. As I said, I think you're going to be missing like 400 homes in there.
And that's public information.
Right,
Right.
we
Yeah.
need to make sure that's very clear that
Yeah.
that's, like, from the Vatti grant application, you know, so,
But you all currently don't have anything like that on your website.
no.
No, not like that.
Yeah.
What we could do, what we could put up, we haven't done that yet, is the shaded areas that APB is covering, and then we have shaded areas where Breeze Line is covering. And then people could look at those. Well, I'm sort of there. The problem is you're going to have people who are right on borders that are going to want to have more specific data.
I think it's risky for the county to create something. I think what we should do is rely upon what's been submitted, and we can certainly post that on the website. It's based upon what they've created, but if we create something and we get it wrong, or it's not quite right, or they don't deliver because the ISPs have to deliver the service, it puts the county in an uncomfortable situation.
I agree, and that's what I'm referring to is using their data, Sherry. Sherry.
Okay.
But not, yeah, their actual maps though, not even their data, like, use their.
No, their
map
actual
from-
maps in the
Yeah.
proposal
Yeah.
is what I'm
Okay.
talking
We
about.
won't create them.
Okay,
Yeah.
With the contact information of both Breeze Line and APB.
right,
The person should really be contacting those two providers.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and on the Breeze Line project, the information we have on the website is pretty detailed, and that's what went into the grant. If you look and see at the neighborhoods they're supposed to be in, it's even marked which home. What they can't do is they can't go click on a specific house and say, that's my house, but they can sort of match up where it is.
Right.
can we put a link to the Vatti application right there on
E-
our
e-
website?
Yes, we can do that. And we can tell them what page of the application to look at. And we can do it for both projects, but the information we have up on our website for the Breeze Line project is much more detailed, minus the extra 100+ homes Nicholas mentioned. So that's, as Sherry has said, the information's public. We have a lot of that. And as I said, the shape files are public for APB, but they also published a general map. And that may be the one to put up from the proposal.
And the other thing that we do is there are plenty of people in the county who send emails to us and say, do you know if it's coming to my home? And here's my address in Whitestone. And we send them a message and direct them how to ask APB and BTS and Breeze Line specifically that question. And each of those companies claims that if you ask them, they will tell you. I don't, most of these people that I respond to, I don't hear from them again. So either they're getting the information or they're not getting the information, but they're not bugging the LCBA again. So not everybody's doing that, but we respond to all those requests, and the ISPs are supposed to tell you whether they're coming or not.
Yeah, I've done that with my house. There's not much information. I mean, basically, they indicates that, yeah, your house is in line or whatever, but there's no information, like, none.
Breeze Line is now stating they've already ordered their door hangers to start putting out on doors in the next X weeks, to say that we're coming, we may be down there, they won't give specific dates, because if you don't show up on the 17th, somebody's gonna call.
Yeah, right.
So, but they're gonna start, they've already ordered those door hangers, so those should be coming out,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they're gonna put them out, you know, just prior to them actually
yeah,
going out in the field.
Yeah, so that
it's
people
not gonna
will
be
see them.
months. It'll be a week or two.
when you start seeing those, people will get very happy.
Yeah.
That will send a big message.
Okay, that's all I had, so.
Oh, that was
Great.
good. I forgot his first, Craig
Geezy. Oh,
Geese.
yeah, Craig Geezy
Geezy.
is the new District 1 supervisor. He's also the new liaison from the Board of Supervisors to the Broadband Authority.
I sent out a message after Thursday, but I
he-
just cannot say his name, Geesey.
Geezy, yes, Craig
No,
Geezy.
no, next week.
Yeah, he, his mother-in-law actually passed away yesterday morning, so he's,
Oh, no.
he may not be available, but,
Sure.
but he's a real good guy. Known him my whole life, went to school with him, so you'll.
Uh-oh.
you-
He's got some stories.
I know. We'll get on his good side.
He'll be a good addition and not any trouble either, I'll put it that way.
Thank you. I know.
We'll hold you to that.
Thursday's monthly, I invited he and Mr. Smith,
Yeah, Bill Smith.
yeah, Bill, to both come, if they would like briefings on, Don had said they had questions about broadband and everything, that we would sit with them, you know, separately, one-on-one, a couple of us with them, whatever, to sort of give them background, not take a meeting to
Yeah.
do that, but do them separately and answer their questions. So that's out there
Yeah.
someplace.
Are y'all meeting next Wednesday as well,
Yes.
since you met today? Okay.
Yeah, you know, you're not coming next week, you're going to be in Richmond.
Yeah, I'll be out of town next week.
Yeah, you'll be in Richmond. Okay.
You need a driver?
And, all right, so you're finished with us?
I think we're done.
Okay. Never done.
Thanks so. All right.
No, 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 no.
I think
Thanks, but thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
we're done.
All right, wait, let me give you some totals here.
Well, you can't, you can do that, because we can't vote on this tonight. So just give the totals Wednesday when we come in.
Oh, it's due Monday. This, that's why we're meeting now. It's due before our meeting next week. All right, based on all the figures, if I've added correctly, the 64,430 for legal services, other professional, 100,000, 10,000 for advertising, 5,000 for mileage, 7,500 for conference education, 100 for office supplies, 1,700 EDP equipment, 3,500 for EDP software. I scratched the Vatti matches, as Don explained. And that comes to a total of $195,230.
Yeah, you forgot the 19.
Oh, the 19,800 for the tower lease. That takes us.
I got 195,300. I think the difference, what do you have for legal?
67,430. The same thing that we
Proposed?
got last year.
Oh,
And
okay, I had
Kevin reminded me.
67.5, whatever it is.
All right, well, I'll do it
It
with
might
a
be easier to
calculator.
say 67.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's budget.
All right, and it's 19,800 for the tower lease. That's 10, 15,
We don't-
16.
Yeah, but we're not putting that in the budget.
That's not the budget.
That's right, that's 216,000. That would be, well, that would be addressed separately. We want to put a narrative comment in about the tower lease or not?
No, I don't think so.
Just totally leave it off.
Yeah.
All right, then we're at 195,230. I'll
Hold up.
confirm the math.
Hold up. You're gonna create a new category and not put money in it?
They didn't create a new category.
We didn't.
I thought we said
Something to put into the narrative also is now the county will be net positive with the tower, with us taking that on. That's a point to make to them. Now you're gonna make 14, I think it's 1450 a month. We should confirm the number with Don.
But
So that will be, instead of I think they were, or maybe they were just positive. But anyway,
but the county's not.
Two things.
we just need to go ahead and say, now you're gonna have more money coming in from the land lease.
That might be a good point to make when it comes to,
But the
when we
county's-
have to get in front of the BOS.
The county's.
justify
If there's a
the county's
discussion, I
Not
mean,
gonna see that money.
I'm sorry?
The county's not gonna see that money. That money's going straight into our account. There's no point.
No, I'm talking something different, Kevin. I'm talking actually the land lease, not the tower lease. In other words, SBA has to pay us for the land that they put their fence around the tower and the tower up on and all the equipment in there. And the county was getting paid, and I thought we went negative with the tower lease space, but we're taking care of that lease space separately. So now the county will go back to being in the black then for those two items.
I don't think we need to put that in our budget, Gary.
Okay.
The county knows they get a check from SBA every month for the land use. And if it's clear, which I think it already is today, that LCBA is covering the space on the tower for the equipment, that cost is being covered by LCBA. It's going to continue to be covered by LCBA.
Which is the
Right.
1,900.
So
That was my only point, but okay.
Then that's the 19,800 that we're covering?
Yes.
is that the total for a year?
For a year.
Yes.
Then we have to put it in the budget, correct?
Yes.
We need a new line item for that?
Well, that's what we originally agreed on when we were at it. We're gonna put a new certificate.
We're not asking for 19.8 though. Let's just be clear. We're not asking them for $19,800.
All right.
This is to clean up the previous year budget.
We're gonna create in next fiscal year a new line item, account number that's for that, specifically for that.
You mean for this coming fiscal year, the new
Yeah,
fiscal
for
year?
coming year, not this year. So when it gets billed, it won't be billed against the professional service account. It'll be billed against the cost of goods sold
All
account.
right, so
So
then, that-
where is that $19,000 gonna come from? So you're gonna take 19,000,
So
listen,
it's gonna come from the revenue generated from the 3750 probably.
the 3750 never transfers from us to the county, ever. We never write them a check.
So that's accumulating.
Yes,
So
that's
we should use
accumulating.
that money to pay for.
Yeah,
So is that what you're saying? We're
That's
gonna
what I
use
think we
that
should
money
do.
to pay for it? Because
I
if we
think
are,
so.
then I agree, no, it shouldn't go on here. But if we aren't, and that's just one more thing that's gonna be harder to audit trail later down the road. I think we're setting ourselves up for failure. That
Oh.
19,800
Okay.
needs to
yeah,
be
it
in there.
has to be someplace documented, so when,
Yeah, you're not documenting anyway.
We agreed we're going to document it.
right.
But it's gonna be, we don't need to do it in the budget request. I think that's the thing.
That's
I
the
think
point.
It needs
You
to
don't
be
need to do it in the
budgeted
budget request.
in our books and records.
All right,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to do the books and records, but I agree. It's not, we're not asking
The
the county
treasurer.
for it.
So this report right here we get every year, this thing we get once a month,
Yeah.
that is literally everything we ask for money. So where are you gonna pull 19,800 out of the 100,000?
No.
Then you need to ask for that 19,800 so it is in the budget.
no,
We do not.
I get it.
we're gonna
I
have, we're gonna
understand.
have money coming into an account, into an accrual account, the 3750.
You're,
The money,
you're.
we're gonna have an account then that's gonna have a budget account in our accounting system. We're not asking for the money because we're gonna have an excess of funds from our internal cash flow of the 3750 coming in. Of that 3750 coming in, 1,600 will go out of that one account. So we'll have to transfer money from the 3750 from that cash account into the expense accounts, the cost of goods sold accounts.
And so just to be clear, the way it will look, and I'll go back and I'll look at the SBA agreements, is that LCBA is paying the lease on the tower for the equipment, and it's either paying it directly to SBA or it's paying it to the county who originally has the contract with SBA. So that's what the flow is.
Should there be
We-
another, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sheree.
We just picked up the expense that to this day probably appears to be an expense of the county under the SBA agreement. LCBA has inherited that expense as a result of managing all this broadband stuff. And we're paying that expense out of the 3750 from BTS.
But I see where Kevin's coming from. in our budget, internal budget, we're gonna have a line item with with the 1,600 times 12. But we're not in our budget to the board of supervisors, we're not gonna have that in there because we're not asking for that money.
Right, it's an expense line, but we're not asking them for any funds to pay that
I get
expense.
it. I get it.
We're gonna do that with internal funds.
And so
Right.
here's a question. Do we have an internal accounting
Thank you.
system?
That was my next question.
The bank.
Because we do
Ask the
need that.
treasurer.
Yeah, if we're talking line items, that means we have some sort of accounting system that says line item tower lease or whatever you want to call it, payments, you know, but do we have anything like that?
Oh, the county's running it for us.
It's called,
So-
right.
See, that's
You
the
can
problem,
print it
is
out
the
and show
accounting
it. That's just good.
that's being done is governmental accounting, right? Where it's that's what
I think she
I
finally
think
gets what I'm
Kevin is
saying.
talking about. There's a difference between governmental accounting and we are actually.
So as a private business,
private
yes.
entity, right? Not a private, we're a
But-
It's still-
governmental with separate entity. So we should have, like, if we're doing it right on the books and records, which is what we're describing, we need to have our own ledger, our own books and records, which would be super simple. But
Yeah.
like, could we get just like a little, and maybe this goes into the software request, a little Quicken program? I mean, it can be pretty, like a basic
You can't.
business program.
Oh, all right, yeah.
Oh.
We've looked into Quicken, there's a couple of them.
And then that way, our records would be complete, because by, I think Kevin's point is, by leaving it off this county accounting system,
Where is it?
which we've been using, it
Where'd it
doesn't
go?
show
Kevin,
up except in our
This,
checking
this is
account.
what I see, auditor in my face, Kevin, where'd this $19,000 go? Oh,
We have to add it, we have to have the county add it. We're separate, a separate organization, the county's accounting system.
We need our own accounting, our own account.
But even that, well, okay, but we could just have the county add that line, that account number. And then we could just fund it from there. They could, like, they're moving money in and out of all our accounts now. I don't see any difference to it.
So you're saying we give them the money each month into that?
No, they're taking it automatically out of our account. They decide to take it out of professional services because we don't have another, probably, that's probably the closest, account we have. If we had an account named cost of goods sold, it would probably come out of that. They just have to create another account.
which I agree with.
Well,
And
the good news is that this is happening today somehow, and so we just need to sort out how it's being done and make certain we're recording it in our books.
So I think that since our only books are these county books, I agree with Kevin that we should make it a part of the budget request and then put a footnote in there that, you
Yeah,
know,
well-
we received these funds. And
And-
so is that, the money's just
Well, ultimately, so what
accumulating?
you also look at is, so long-term of this, all right, he stops paying us the $37.50, that's not gonna last forever. But if the county's
Right,
constantly
that's
had
what
it
I said
budgeted,
earlier.
Right.
it's never an increase for them, they just
Right,
keep on going.
yeah, I think we need to include it. I think it's the simplest thing to do. And otherwise, like Kevin said, as far as an auditor is concerned, it's like,
Where
I
is
don't
it?
see it, right?
Right? It's like, where'd it go? Did you
Okay,
deposit
just so
it?
that we're
Prove you
all in
deposited it.
agreement, I think that putting it on whatever piece of paper we're putting together right now, no problem doing that, but we're not asking for them to give us 19.4 or 19.8.
Correct,
That's right.
but it needs to be there so that we can
It
track it.
needs to be somewhere.
That we
I
can
think
track
everybody
it.
agrees with that.
Yes.
Yes. Well, then how do we put it, all righty, this request, the sheet he gave us, the only way we can do, I'm sorry, Karen.
Put it on the sheet, put a note, like the bullets we've done for other things.
narrative.
This is just there so that it can be tracked properly, that it's being paid. We're actually paying for it out of our private account.
We'd have to put it under,
I can
have to
see,
name it.
I'll find out, like, get a new category, since this, what, Monday? We got
yeah,
from
this
thing?
has to be in by 5 PM Monday.
I'll ask Bonnie tomorrow morning
Okay.
to give me a number to work with.
All right, what I want to do is send, this has to be in by 5 PM on Monday. If he has that, hopefully by maybe Friday, I can send out a draft with some narrative comments. We mentioned a couple of things. And then everybody can say, yep, oh, except the wording here is awkward, whatever. We can finish it up by Monday morning, it's done, and we press the button, and it goes.
Right, so I think that we could approve it right now, subject to these changes that we discussed.
And the review of the final.
And then, we'll review the final and confirm that those
Those points.
points
I
have
think
been
we could-
addressed properly.
I think it can be approved the way it is,
Yeah.
because even if we include that line item for the tower, we're not asking for any money. It's gonna be, a zero ask.
Right.
Yeah,
How do we zero that out? Are we just saying we're being billed at some point and we're paying the 19.8 at that point?
Let's figure out the logistics. I mean, this is being managed somehow. Somebody's managing this.
In it now. It's
So,
coming out of the professional services account.
What?
All we're saying is that it's gonna come out of a different account.
yes.
what, I'm sorry, Nicholas, I didn't hear that.
We're paying it now. It's coming out of professional services.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So now we're just saying, instead of coming out of professional services, we want to move it to a new account, so it's accounted properly.
Right.
So we're not asking, even if we put that line item into this budget, that's gonna go to the board of supervisors, I think we're agreeing, we're not gonna ask for the 19,200, but we're gonna pay that out of the 3,750 we get every month.
Right.
So basically, in lieu of inclusion in professional services, the new line item, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, documents the 3750
Yeah,
per month,
the
the
budget
1980.
ask of 195,300 is gonna be the same.
Yeah, this is not included in that, whatever,
Yeah,
not
So this is what we're-
195.
So we can approve it, and then Kevin's gonna talk to Bonnie.
yeah, exactly.
And
We're just
we'll-
gonna
Yeah,
create,
Yeah, and then we'll fiddle
And
with the
for,
wording
for
in draft.
payment into that, we can pay on a quarterly basis. I talked to Don and he said we can set it up for quarterly, so it's not overly burdensome, Kevin.
Okay, then what we're asking for is that, for purposes of a vote, that if everyone concurs in, as stated, the line items, the identification of the amounts against each line item, inclusion of a statement, tower lease funds, something like that, we'll play with the wording.
Yeah, don't call it the tower lease though, because,
What would we call that?
well,
That's a good
it's
thought.
space on the tower. Because there's already a separate
Right,
tower
separate
lease where SBA is leasing
Billing,
land. I guess
yeah.
we could have the land lease and the space lease.
All right, so the new item,
SBA tower space lease or
I
something.
thought Bonnie was gonna tell us what she wanted to call it. Yeah.
yeah, well, we'll get it from Bonnie, but that's how we'll describe it in a narrative point if we have to. When she gives us all righty, I'll send this out as soon as we get whatever we get from Bonnie. I'll send out a draft, and you guys play with it, what we all agree, and hopefully by Monday morning, the final is there to go.
So your motion.
Sounds great.
So I'll
Did
make a
did you want to
motion.
make a motion?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, Michelle
There
is
we go.
just making it.
So I'll make a motion to approve the requests for the general operating budget that we have discussed and that Cassie summarized.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
unanimous. Another unanimous
I
meeting.
don't know that's really Gary saying aye. I can't even see him.
Say aye, Gary, so we know it's you.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be a pirate. Aye.
Yeah, that's-
Or arg.
Okay, then, I'll send out an agenda for, next week's meeting, which there will be